between an offense being traditional and antiquated. It's not antiquated, but it is traditional. Whereas
if you're not necessarily familiar with all the new friends,
I would say
you're not pulling
a bunch of players from Dan Casey's
playbook.
It's
they're not stealing from Dan
Casey's Twitter.
It's not bad. It's just effective. It's almost to the point of brutal effectiveness. Yeah, fun for me to watch. But it's always fun when your team is scoring points.
Big 12 personnel guy, Big 13 personnel guy.
You like watching tight ends get out in space and block.
And these dudes look for work. There were a couple times in that Missouri game
where they're getting out on the perimeter, especially on screen passes, and they are looking for work, right? There's one thing I noticed. There's a screen pass, and this isn't just the tight ends. Like the receivers block really well, too, where they got a big explosive play on a regular screen pass to Mario Craver, and you see 2 or 3 wide receivers pancake blocking somebody. Casey Concepcion, chip blocks one guy and then goes out and looks for another guy, blocks him out on the perimeter. And that made what by design was probably a 6-yard play, a 50-something yard play.
They had that play against Notre Dame earlier this year, where a wide receiver blocks the dude, and he gets as excited for his block as he does for
yes.
And what was really interesting, and I wish I had the player's name, but what was really exciting was everybody else got just excited. It was like half the team was celebrating with the dude who scored, and the other half was celebrating with the touchdown dude, with the blocking dude. And I was like, oh, okay, but that hints to what they value as an offense and what they value as a team.
Now, I watched a few more games, too, to try to figure out what it was maybe other teams did well against Texas A&M, to where if there is some type of blueprint in terms of being successful offensively, right? There is no blueprint in how to beat Texas A&M because nobody has done it. They're still undefeated. But Arkansas was able to put up 42 points in that game. So I went through and watched almost the entire Arkansas game. They're trying to figure out what it is that they did well. And a lot of it was just using the seams. I think Texas A&M's defense, because, I mean, we're obviously that storyline for South Carolina in this game is a new offensive coordinator, an interim offensive coordinator, Mike Furry, some adjustments that need to be made on offense. What can you do in this game that might be able to be effective against how Texas A&M is engineered and designed? And one way might be to try to just attack their linebackers in coverage. Like Damian Sanford and Torrey York are solid linebackers in coverage. They're there to hit people, right? They want to attack the quarterback. They love to blitz. What Arkansas did really well was attack the middle of the field. Taylor Green in that game against Texas A&M, 12 of 15 for 201 yards and 1 touchdown on passing between the numbers. If there is a soft spot in that defense, that's probably where it is, because they have defensive backs too that are incredible in coverage, including Will Lee, who is, I think, one of the best pound-for-pound cover corners in college football right now.
That's a really interesting point. With our previous offense, we didn't make a lot of vertical throws down the middle of the field. All of our throws, just thinking about this, but all the throws in the middle of the field were hooks, curls, or something, but we rarely attacked between the hashes up the field. And a lot of times quarterbacks, those are your more, I won't say easier because none of those throws are easier, but those are the throws that are less taxing on your arm as opposed to throwing outside the numbers every single time.
Yes.
So that might be something that the new offensive staff is looking at. Obviously, they're looking at tapes of what has been successful, and I do think with North. The good thing about Arkansas is we have a Taylor Green.
Yes, exactly.
That's the best part. Because some offenses might be looking at that Arkansas tape and saying, well, we ain't got that guy. Right. But we do have that guy.
Yeah.
We got an upgraded version of that.
Yeah. And the thing about that I noted too, Taylor Green had to be a magician to make this thing close. And there were a few times where, like, it wasn't like Arkansas just sat back and let him sit in the pocket and throw the ball in the middle of the field. There were plenty of times where Taylor Green had to escape a rush pocket, right? There were a couple times he took like a 20-yard sack late in that game because pressure was coming from both edges. He thought it was coming from the right side, so he tried to do a little spin over his right shoulder
to go left, and he spins right into attack. That happened a couple times. A&M collapsed the pocket a ton in that game, and Taylor Green had to be a magician. So you'll be saying it this week. The same way we have said it most of the season is South Carolina wants to win this game. More sellers has to channel his inner Houdini to be able to escape some non-advantageous situations.
And that's, again, that is unfortunately part of the scout report that he's going to have to make some of those plays that makes him so special. But if Taylor can do it, I'm pretty confident that Lenore can do a lot of those same things. A lot of those teams going into this situation do not have an athlete at quarterback that can make some.
No. And that is what at least should help you a little bit in this game, is that you have the ability to be able to escape pockets. You have a quarterback who is no stranger to facing pressure this year. So if there's anything, maybe that experience of facing pressure all year long is able to help them out in the slightest. A couple of other things that I noticed too, Preston, when we did successfully against against Texas A&M in terms of running the ball, right? Like Missouri, there are only 3 teams that have been able to run for over 200 yards against A&M this year. And that was Missouri, Arkansas, and UTSA in week 1 of the year. You want to talk about week one-iness? Some real week one-iness? A&M has missed only 55 tackles this year. 14 of them came in that first game against Texas San Antonio.
Okay.
14. They are about as sure-handed of a tackling team as you will see in college football. But 24-30 of the 30 runs from Missouri, so only 6 runs they had were not designed outside zones.
Last week, guys, what's today? Today's
Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday. How'd that happen? When I was running my stretch and catch offense, I said, hey, I don't know if we need to have a lot of running backs in this game. We look at those numbers. Our running backs have not made a lot of people miss. They have not been necessarily effective in the pass game. I'm not sure if this is a game where maybe the idea of balance is tossed aside. And maybe Lenore's, you attempt 40 to 50 throws. The length of those throws may be different, right? It may not be downfield, but maybe this is a game where we just don't try it because just to my recollection, we have not run for 200 yards this year, have we? Maybe once.
We got close against maybe LSU. I'm going to double check that just because Kentucky they might have. I want to say they did.
I'm just going off the top, but the overarching point is that hey, we all understand that the run game has not been particularly effective for us at various points in the season, especially running into the teeth of very strong defenses.
It ran for $178 against Kentucky, $193 against LSU. 193 is the closest they've gotten to breaking 200 yards in the rushing game this year.
So, my prescription would be maybe we do less.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's really a common denominator in terms of what other teams did to attack Texas A&M in the run game. Now, A&M will give up the occasional running game explosive, but they, for the most part, keep people in check. Arkansas's zone gap scramble split was 8, 10, and 6, right? So most of their runs were gap runs. 8 were zone runs, 6 scrambles. And Taylor Green had 132 yards on scrambling.
Hey.
That was where a majority of those rushing yards came from.
You know what we do in next segment? Can we put a pin on there and maybe bring that back for the next segment? Because, again, every team doesn't have somebody that can model that because you could be watching and be like, man, I wish we had a guy that could do that. But we do have a guy that can do that.
That's right. We do have someone who can do that. So that's called a segue in this industry. So we will segue that into putting on our guarding glasses. Always difficult to do when your team's 3 and 6, but you know what? There's always room for a little bit of hopium, and we try to give you that. We're trying to put on our guarding glasses, see what we see through those lenses coming up next here on the early game live chart. K-Toes. Got it.
Preston here for Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment
is family-owned and serving the business
since 1983.
That's over 40 years. The third generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service with great deals, and mom-and-pop values that you love. Ben is determined to raise the standard of sales, service, and retail. Cato's are proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. If you're ready to invest in something new, the friendly team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's got you covered. With a huge selection of new and pre-owned mowers, powerful tractors, and all the gear that you need to tackle any outdoor project. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
Look at that. Yes. He's got it down pat. You see how the Miami Heat won their game last night?
I did not.
First thing I saw when I woke up this morning. 4/10 of a second left on the clock. They're running an elevator screen right there. Where one guy basically runs through two guys who close the door. So they fake the elevator screen, sets a back screen, throws a lob, and Andrew Wiggins catches it and flushes it. Eric Spolster's a wizard.
You have a silver car?
Is that your silver car in the parking lot?
Silver car. No, I think it's brown. I've got a rental car, so I'm not sure. But I am parked in the parking lot.
I think it might be yours because it's the only other
one.
I just need to move because we're going to be parking carts where it's at right now today.
Gotcha.
So when you get a minute.
Yep. I'll get it. Can I get a next break? Next commercial break? Will that work?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
Thank you.
People scoff and tell them Eric Spolster is one of the best coaches the CBD's had in the last 30 years. You should show them that play.
So he just draws that up and it's like, boom. Is there a check?
With 4/10 of a second,
probably not. High.
You probably, just throw it high anyway. And if you could tip it in, tip it in. But that's a variation of like the elevator screen, which is one of my favorite plays in basketball in terms of getting open threes. And the women's team actually runs a lot of those, especially on out of bounds underneath plays. You just get two forwards that look like they're
running with your two bigs, right?
Yep, they're about to. It looks like they're going to set a stagger screen for the last second. They walk up and then close the door on somebody. That works to perfection a lot of the times. But on that one instead, he just split it, but the elevator door didn't close, and one forward just kind of turns around, screens that guy's man.
He screened it. So, boom, he screens him, and he kind of rolls off of that.
Yep.
That's cool.
Beautiful variation. I was scrolling first thing when I woke up, and I was like, oh, buddy. Yeah. What do I do? Later.
Coon Store Road at Highway 21, an accident there. No other incidences at this time, and that's really good news. We welcome that for a Tuesday, and it's a cold one at that. It's going to be cold and breezy, 50 for the high today. Overnight low 34. Tomorrow, breezy at times, but warming up back into the mid-60s. So certainly we're going to welcome that. But right now, starting off the morning kind of brisk, showing 34 on the early game.
Haven't got to dust these bad boys off in a while. Get them out. Out of the case. They might be a little cracked. Dusty. Mine are dirty.
I didn't even take care of these things.
Put on your garnet glasses because that's what we do every Tuesday at this segment. We put on our garnet glasses. We try to see a little bit of hope for optimism. Maybe look for a little bit of hope for Preston Thorne. But I think we might have talked ourselves into a little something against Texas A&M because this South Carolina team needs to be able to pull off a stunner against number 3 Texas A&M. Oh, by the way, doing it on the road. I don't believe South Carolina has won at College Station.
Have not.
But if we're looking for a pathway, I mean, one team has scored 40-plus against Texas A&M this year, and that was Arkansas. And they did it because they ran for over 200 yards. And if you just take the scrambles from Taylor Green, then he accounted for 132. Now, he did lose a lot on sacks later, and Pro Football Focus does not account for sacks the way the Lord intended it to be. However, the point still remains. He picked up 132 yards from scrimmage whenever he had to break out of the pocket and run, right? Whenever he had to just get out of dodge. So, does that give us hope? Is that what we're seeing in our garnet glasses? Is the ability of Lenore Sellers to maybe break out of the pocket and make some magic happen?
Yeah, if we're assuming that he will have to make some things happen because of their pass rush, because of our offensive line's inability to hold up the rush, as we've seen throughout the year, you want to bet on somebody who can make plays off schedule, as the quarterback kids call it, right? He's going to be off schedule several times. Can he make plays in that? And I would bet on Lenoris being
as good, if not better, than Taylor Green in those situations. As I said last segment, sometimes as a coach, you're watching the film and you're like, man, if only we had a guy that could do that. And you look around on your squad and you don't have them. And so it's like, well, we can't really do what they did. But newsflash, we do have a guy that can do all of that. And maybe even a dude who feels more comfortable when he's doing that. Whenever we've seen Lenoris play this year, he looks more in his body whenever he's improvising, whenever he's making plays. As you like to say, he's more jazz.
Yes.
He's more jazz than anything else. And unfortunately, Mike Truler tried to take that out of him, tried to make him stay on rhythm, stay on beat, and that was not conducive to Lenoris's game. So seeing Taylor's success, that might be something that you can just – you don't want to bank on that, but it's something that you can have in your back pocket.
No. Yeah, you don't want to bank on it, but it's one of those things too, like break in case of emergency. All right, all else fails. The original plan is scrapped. Lenoris, just run. All
right, here's the play. We're gonna let him break through the line. Lenoris, you run backwards 5 yards, throw somebody off your back, spin, and then you make a play.
It's like
ready?
It's like my phone's the worst at this thing. Like where I get on my GPS to go somewhere. And the software, I guess, takes a while to figure out kind of where I'm at on the map. And I pass my exit, and it's like, oh, reroute, take the next U-turn. And I'm like, no, that's not what I wanted to do. This is a terrible plan. No, so, but, at that time, you can then have to improvise, right? Like maybe the plan will be to do all of that. Not really. But another thing that I can see in my garnet glasses is that maybe Mike Furry really throws in a wrinkle they don't expect, right? Maybe you can just do some outfoxing because maybe the ignorance of what Texas A&M has of what your offense can be if you are to do something completely different maybe throws them off for a few series. You won't be able to do it for an entire game because college coaches are smart. They'll be able to adjust and kind of figure some things out on the fly. But if you're able to get an advantage early, then that at least just buys you more time and more margin for error later in the game because Texas A&M is going to make plays.
Tough week for the Texas A&M GAs having to find limestone tape. They're like scouring through huddle accounts, watching Betamax, trying to find something for the defensive staff because I mean they're going to try and figure out. They know that we have a new OC. They're going to try and figure out what he likes to do, what his tendencies are, and see how that plays in a role. But for me, that's probably the biggest source of optimism for this week is that we don't have last year's offense. It's a new day.
It's a new day.
It's a new day.
Things are going to look a little different.
Whatever that is, I don't know, but it's going to be different. Something will be there might be some exciting elements. Done some reconnaissance mission. Saw Donovan Murph tweeting,
"Oh,
let's go." with a picture of him and Mike Furry giving each other dap.
Okay.
Is that an insight into the game plan? Who knows? I don't know.
I mean, does that mean Donovan Murphy five catches for 50 yards? I don't know.
I'm just saying, I could imagine with those players on offense, there probably is a sense of newness, a fresh paint of coat on the walls, fresh paint of paint on the walls, however you want to say it. It's probably been pretty invigorating for them to have offensive practice this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is that kind of freshness. And that freshness, if you're looking through your garnet glasses, I feel like is one of the things that maybe you can lean on. Because if you just look at this matchup on paper, there's a reason that ESPN's matchup predictor has like an 83.5% Texas A&M win, right?
That's fair.
Just because that's
right.
What we laid out is correct. Like, this Texas A&M team is that good. They are one of the best teams in the country. They are very complete. They do a lot of things that would be a normal bad matchup for South Carolina, like pass rush, right? Cassius Howell doesn't just affect the quarterback on every play. He most likely gets to the quarterback on almost every play. They blitz a lot. And Damian Sanford has been a game wrecker for them this year. They have great corners. Like, everything's kind of set up for you to not have success based on just what your offense has looked like this year. But there's that element of the unknown of, hey, yeah, the A&M's defense is really good, but what if we just absolutely throw something their way that they are not prepared for and that they haven't seen on tape that catches them by surprise? And if you get off to a little bit of a lead early, then maybe you can introduce an element of lemon booty into this game, because A&M's never been here, right? They have never been here to where they are undefeated this late in the season with a chance to go to the SEC championship game. They never have. Make them prove that they have what it takes to be able to do that. And maybe that element of surprise gets you to at least that point.
Yeah, so let's bring up the Penn State-Indiana game. Okay? Penn State-Indiana game. Penn State-Indiana game. Penn State goes into that game, and one of the reporters asked the interim head coach, Terry, I forget his last name, they asked him, what do you have to say about the deep balls that were thrown? How do you account for the deep balls that were thrown? And he said, well, we just called them. Meaning they hadn't been called to this point in the year.
We just called them.
We just called different plays, and we just had different results. And maybe for us, this might be the case. I do not want to see any play from last time's playbook. Throw them all out. None of it worked. I want to see new variations, new plays. You've had 2 weeks. You've had a bye. Hey, Mike, this is your shot.
Yeah.
Don't go down doing the same old thing. Hey, the chances are you probably won't be an SEC offensive coordinator next year. That's a high chance. But
you can change your fate.
You could change your fate, dial some ball plays up, and do some things that are really interesting and exciting for not only the team but us as fans to watch. And you as a coach, don't go in there and call it inside zone, man. For what?
You don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that.
Do what you want to do. Hey, you have the keys, man. You have the keys. Do what you want to do.
And you're probably not going to get – what are you protected?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, go in there and, as they would say early, it's the 6:30, man. Let them hang.
Yeah.
Because what else do we have to lose? And I hope they call ball plays with that spirit in mind.
Because this South Carolina team is 3-6. It has been a very disappointing season. But how exactly did we get here? We'll take a look at the offense so far this season in the 9 games under Mike Shula. Look at them by the numbers and then see what can change from there and see exactly maybe if there's anything that we see in these numbers that can give you a little bit of optimism and a little bit of garnet glasses feel to them. Because Old Man versus Analytics coming up next live from Charwood here in the early game.
Preston here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you. usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, you can do that with Absolute Glass. You can do that with new windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at absoluteglassinc.com. That's online at absoluteglassinc.com.
Coonstor Road at Highway 21. It's the only accident outstanding at this time, and it is chilly today, and going to be chilly again tonight. Starting to get better tomorrow, though. 50 for the high today, overnight low 34, then 65 on Wednesday, 69 on Thursday. Still going to have some cooler mornings, but not quite as cool, more of around 40. Currently 34 on 107.5 The Game.
9 games into the season, South Carolina at 3-6 and staring down the barrel of missing a bowl game right now, needing to win at Texas A&M to be able to preserve bowl eligibility. Clearly not where anybody thought this team would be when the season began, but nonetheless, here we are at 3-6. How did we get here? Well, a lot of it is the struggles of the offense. So we'll take a look at some of the offensive numbers here in Old Man versus Analytics. And Preston, I looked through some of the numbers. I picked out a few that maybe paint the picture as to what's gone wrong this year. So let's start what happens in the passing game. So Lenoris has been pressured on 44% of his dropbacks. 44%. Not almost half of his dropbacks, he is facing pressure. Not ideal. His pass catchers have accounted for 11 drops this season, which explains the jump from 60% to 72% in terms of the difference between his real completion percentage, 60, and his expected completion percentage, which is actually 72. 11 drops so far this season. But Lenoris's pressure to sack percentage is 25%, which is incredibly high. You do not want to be above 16 or 17, right? He is at 25%, meaning at 1 out of every 4 pressures he has, he's taking a sack. So, with all of that, the passing game woes and inconsistency has been a total team effort, not just one element of the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, when coaches say, it took everybody on offense needs to do their job, it's so true. I always say that one person, not I always say, football coaches say that one person on offense can mess up the whole operation. All 10 can get their assignment right. If one person messes up, it could be done. And that's a great example of what you're talking about, because it's not only that not only that the offensive line is allowing pressures on almost 1 out of every 2 dropbacks, which is
alarming,
very difficult. Mike Shula's somewhere like, see, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to call
like
plays.
Like the Doctor and Batman, like the Jack Nicholson Batman Joker movie, where the guy's working on Jack Nicholson after that chemical spill or whatever, and it's in this like shady basement, and he's doing surgery on him, and he looks at the mirror and he's not pleased. He's like, "Well, you see what I have to work with here?"
He's like, "Look, okay." And when in fact he does get pressured, then he takes too many sacks, which means he's holding on to the ball too long. And then in the case when he does throw the ball, the receivers drop it, or running backs, or whoever is intended receivers drop it. So, yeah, that equals a calamity as far as the offense is concerned. So I guess my question would be, what could you shore up first? I think the first thing that Lenoris can do is he can't control whether or not the wide receivers catch the ball. He can't control whether or not the offensive line blocks. He can get rid of the ball and save himself.
Yeah.
I think that's something that he can effectively work on right now, and that's something that he needs to get better with without everything else taking place.
At least control what you can
He
control.
He can control that.
Yes.
He can control getting rid of the ball when he feels danger.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I'm at too. It's like if he improves that, then you can at least shoulder less blame for yourself in terms of how the season's gone. Right. I got rid of the ball. I got rid of it. I didn't have much to work with here. I got rid of it. Now, in terms of the running game this year, as we uncovered earlier in the show, Carolina has yet to go over 200 yards rushing in a game. But South Carolina's best direction to run this year has been off the right guard. They've got 31 carries for 213 yards. That's good for almost 7 yards per carry for 3 touchdowns. So if South Carolina really wants to establish any running game, they may have to commit to running behind one Trovon Ball.
Yeah, and for my eyes, he seems like he's the one who's been the most aggressive in the run game, right? And that's aggressiveness, talking about finishing off blocks, talking about maybe giving some folks a little bit of the business at the echo of the whistle. Because when we look at, again, nobody loved it when it happened last year against Clemson, but Torricelli got those 2 penalties for blocking dudes on, basically doing the blindside block to the dude and taking them into the cheerleaders. You didn't love it, but you also did not love it either. You're like,
love the hustle. I love the effort. Yeah,
hey,
playing the echo of the whistle.
We would want to have that. What is you rather say whoa than giddy up? It's kind of the thing that they always talk about. We haven't had to say a lot of whoa for the offensive line this year. So, yeah, that seems like, to my eyes, it feels like he's the most aggressive lineman that we have right now.
And the numbers do certainly kind of back that one up a little bit in terms of he has been at least an effective run blocker this year, and maybe following his lead. If you're going to be running the ball, if you're trying to establish any type of run game, if you're to try to do that, that's probably the direction to go. Last one here, per SEC StatCat, the most common concept South Carolina has run. Would you like to guess?
Inside zone.
Oh, you're so good. Inside zone read. 14% of the plays this year have had an inside zone read concept. It picks up 4.2 yards per play and has a success rate of only 39%. I assume this probably matches what your eyes are telling you.
Yeah, that's when you are in the stand saying, no, again, they did it again. That's when you feel like whenever you feel like why we keep running up the middle, that's the analytic that supports it. What's that success rate that you?
39%.
And success rate meaning it gets the amount of half the distance to a first down or whatever.
On first down, it's first down. I think it's like half the distance.
Half the distance of the yards needed.
Yes,
on that particular down.
Or on third and fourth down, it is getting the first down.
Getting the first down. Yeah. That absolutely supports what everybody else sees with their eyes that don't have access to these numbers. When you feel like, whenever you feel as a fan, when you feel like, why are we doing this again? That's what those numbers are telling you.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely matches where you're like, man, I feel like we've just run a lot of inside zone this year. The numbers definitely back that up. Like that is without a doubt their most commonly used concept this year. If you would like to guess the second most commonly used concept.
Zone read, QB, zone read outside.
Inside power. That success rate of 38%.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like being very nuanced with the play call to the naked eye, to the fan eye. You probably wouldn't notice the difference between those two plays. But you would notice that neither one of them have been working very well.
No. And according to SEC StatCat, the most successful thing they've run this year in terms of concept, which, funny enough, in terms of the top 10 most commonly used concepts they have, which is anything 15 plays or more, all verts, 53% success rate.
Hey, I mean, there's whole offenses based on 4 verts. One of my good friends, he runs his whole offenses based on four verts, and essentially every wide receiver runs a vertical until they don't, and they don't based on a couple of zone concepts that they're working with. But the base of the offense is we're going this way.
We're all running in this direction.
This way, and it's a way to put a little bit of pressure on an defensive system. So I don't know. That is a viable option. There are offensive systems based on 4 verts.
If you are just looking at the numbers saying what are the things that we do the most successful that we've done at least more than 14 times this year, well, that's your answer right there. But since it is Texas A&M week, I did want to pose a question about the rivalry. I know I might put air quotes here too, because Carolina and A&M have been playing every year for the last 12, 13 years? That's been the annual opponent, one of the annual opponents for South Carolina. The SEC tried to make it a thing. Did it ever actually become a thing? Because this is the last year we're doing it until we're completely changing the SEC schedule. We'll discuss that next here on the Early Game. 2014. A lot of change in the SEC that season, starting with Missouri and Texas A&M entering the conference, starting with the creation of the SEC network, and the starting of a rivalry, air quotes, I'm using the finger quotes if you're watching on YouTube, I'm doing this for a reason, between Texas A&M and South Carolina, because the SEC office determined it would be a good idea to give these newcomers in Texas A&M and Missouri some rivalries, right? Give them somebody to play every year and kind of get them in a steady rotation, right? But did it ever really stick with A&M? They played 11 times. And the first game, for those who remember, it was on that Thursday, August 28th at Williams-Brice Stadium. So happened to be the first ever football game played on the SEC network. Also the one known as the Kenny Hill game.
Kenny Thrill.
The Kenny Thrill game, where A&M won 52-28, and that set a pretty bad omen for South Carolina that season.
Yeah.
South Carolina did not get their first win against A&M until 2022, highlighted by Xavier Legette's kickoff return for a touchdown.
One shoe.
That's
yeah. Right. One shoe.
And then followed up the next time they played at Williams-Brice, which was last season, where South Carolina beat number 10 Texas A&M 44-20. But they have never won at College Station, right? So here are the losses at College Station. 35-28 in 2015, 24-17 in 2017. So a couple of close losses. 30-6 in 2019, 44-14 in 2021, 30-17 in 23. Is there ever, if you're as a South Carolina fan, and you could answer this, 803-446-100 Firehouse Subs text line, do you feel any annual animosity to Texas A&M? Has that stuck with you at all since its inception?
I'm only speaking for myself. It has not at all. When you said that we played every year for 12, 13 years now in a row, it doesn't register. There are a couple of notable games, but no, I do not consider them a rivalry. And it has not, it feels like it's manufactured, and as soon as they're not on the schedule, I don't think people will be clamoring for the Texas A&M game.
I don't think so either. I know they gave it a trophy.
That's right.
Like the Bonham Trophy.
You tried a trophy.
They tried that out. It hasn't necessarily. I wonder how many people you asked, how many Gamecock fans you asked, like, what does South Carolina and A&M play for every year? I don't know how many people are answering the Bonham Trophy.
That's a great man on the street number that somebody could pull down there, because I'm sure nobody at Texas A&M knows, and many of our fans do not know. We tried to make it a thing. I think they even did like a social media deal where Shane had it. It was fun. It's cool. The trophies, I'll take it, but nobody's really adopted this thing. Really quickly, I know you have the fancy machine there. That 30-6 game, what year was that? Do you have there?
The 30-6 game.
Because I'm not great at this, and it's not great for radio, but I do feel like
that would have been 2019.
Oh yeah, that feels like a 30-6. I don't think that 6 was a touchdown with an extra point. I think that 6 was the Will Muschamp kicking a 50-yard field goal to make it 30-6. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong.
I think you might be right.
I could be wrong.
I think you might be right.
But I feel like Will Muschamp made it 30-6. Not that we didn't get the extra point.
Oh man,
but he kicked the field goal to say 30-6. When in the future, when Elijah Campbell's doing a morning show, they won't be able to say 30-3.
It'll say 30-6 that we did not lose by 27, buddy. We only lost by 24. Which is one of my biggest pet peeves in sports, or when coaches kind of start getting a little more conservative down a couple scores, when it's like, hey, look, it doesn't matter if you lose by 27 or 24. You still lost the game. Do whatever's going to give you the best chance to win. It's a really weird thing where college coaches or coaches in any sport are just terrified of losing of a certain margin.
There's a number. Okay, I get there is an instinct to say, we want to not get shut out. So if it's 30-0 and we kick the field goal, it's 30-3. At least they didn't shut us out. But that extra one to be 30-6, man.
Does you nothing. Does you nothing. And the funny thing is, it'd be one thing if the game would have been played in late August or early September, right? Where it's hey, we just got to see what our kickers got. This game's a wash. We got to see what our kickers got. Let's try right here for this 50-yard field goal. And that way we know if we have to make a kicking decision later in the season, if we can trust them on the road to make a 50-yarder. All right. See, even then, okay, I fine. Don't love it, but fine. I get it. You can only replicate those situations so many times and not adequately in practice. But this game was played on November 16th of 2019. November 16th. You had 2 games left. So I can't even let that excuse fly.
Scoring margin, man. Scoring margin. Something. I say all that to say, man, I don't consider Texas A&M a rivalry. This has been, for us to have played this many years, there's not that many notable moments in these games.
It's pretty one-sided.
And it's been very, very one-sided. Shout out to Shane. He's given us a couple victories during this time, but I do not feel like this is a rivalry.
Shane is both wins since A&M. Yeah, all two of them since A&M has joined the SEC have come in the Shane Beamer era.
Yeah,
the only one. He can't say that. I'm the only South Carolina coach to ever beat Texas A&M.
Solid. Put it on the resume. Put a bullet point. Bullet point there. What has always been said though, even when they were going through those 8-4s, even when they were going through, we played all through the eras, the Kevin Sumlin era, the Jimbo Fisher era. It's always been said that Texas A&M was the best looking team getting off the bus.
Oh, they have been for years.
And it's always been the deal. And finally, Mike Elko's putting it together.
Yeah, that's a good testament to how good of an actual football coach Mike Elko is. And sometimes the sexy hire is not the right one. Sometimes it's just hiring the best football coach for your program. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up next. We'll discuss the college football playoff rankings tonight and what might change. That's next here on the early game.
Assembly Street at Whaley Street. That is actually closed right now due to some repairs on the track. So Assembly is closed between Catawba and Whaley until 7 o'clock on Wednesday for those railroad track repairs. Coonstor Road at Highway 21, also a report of an accident in that location. 50 for a high today. Overnight, it's going to be 34. And then tomorrow, 65 for the high. So that'll be better. Still going to be kind of breezy, though. Overnight low of 41. Thursday, 69 degrees. So it's going to be warming up in the daytime hours again. Certainly welcoming that. 34 right now.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now, live from Charwood Golf Club. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Jen Jensen back at the studio. Preston Thorne has left the building. Michael Sauls from the State Newspaper will join me here from 7:30 to the rest of the show, so he'll get to hang out with us a little bit today. Sent Michael the bat signal yesterday, the better call Saul's signal, if you will. So he'll get to hang out with us here for the last half of the show. But we invite you to be able to share your thoughts, whether South Carolina related or college playoff related, because the rankings are released once again tonight, and there will be a little bit of shakeup, especially when it comes to seeing what the committee does with the ACC. That's 803-404-6100, Firehouse Subs text line, and the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, where we will go out to David, who has been waiting patiently on the line. David, good morning. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning. Much respect, man. Early morning remote can be hard. I appreciate what y'all do.
Thank you.
Be honest with you, a couple weeks ago, I wasn't real interested in the Texas A&M game, but with the change of OC, I'm looking forward to it because of the fact that we've got a little bit of surprise factor, and they don't have a whole lot of film or time to go over film of a furry called offense. And looking at it, nobody should know better how to use the receivers than he should. Mm-hmm. And I'm expecting a lot of slants, curls, button hooks, and in the old days we called it quarterback waggle. But
okay,
I'm expecting because there's no, with the offensive line being a weak link, there's no use to running up into them. Take the pressure off them, take the pressure off Lenoir. But I'm expecting a quicker game, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Furry's offense, they were putting up when he called his own thing, they were putting up over 30 points a game. But I appreciate what y'all do, man. Take it off there. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the call, David. And a couple of points there, too. Starting with what Mike Furry did at Limestone. I mean, they were very effective offenses. Scored a lot of points, gained a lot of yards. I believe it was over 400 yards a game in total offense. That was a really good offense. Now, how much you're able to apply some of that from the D2 level to the SEC is kind of maybe personnel dependent, I would say. But that at least tells me that Mike Furry knows how to diagnose what his offense is and be able to play to their strengths, right? And that's one thing that I'm intrigued with, David. I think a lot of other Gamecock fans would at least give them a little bit of enthusiasm for this game where normally they wouldn't if the change wasn't made, is that Mike Furry's been working with these wide receivers very closely throughout the entire season. I mean, there's probably not a person on that staff who understands the skill set and their route running abilities better than him. So maybe when it comes to dialing up the passing game, maybe he is going to be able to work some things in with those guys, make them do some changes on the fly, because the change is the big part too. Out of the stuff that you mentioned, David, I think the element of surprise is probably the one that would give you the most hope, right? Because again, you're right. Texas A&M doesn't know what he's going to do. Not a lot of people no one outside that building know exactly what Mike Free wants to do when it comes to how he's going to call plays, right? The order in what he calls plays. What are his tendencies on first down? What are his tendencies on third down, right? What does he like to do when you pick up 6 yards on first down, right? What's his game plan to move the chains? It's different for every single play caller, right? You can run the same offense as somebody, but still have different tendencies in what you do in terms of down and distance in certain situations in the game. And that can help you out a little bit, right? Now, Texas A&M as a coaching staff does a lot of things where they make it really hard. Eli Drinkwitz, even after the game on Saturday, even, kind of threw his hands up and say, I got duped. Jordan Kay and I talked about that yesterday, that you don't oftentimes see a coach like Eli Drinkwitz ever hand it to somebody and say, hey, they duped me, right? They showed some things that we were not prepared for. That very rarely happens with a guy like Drinkwitz. And if he's saying it, I'm believing him, right? If he got duped, he got duped. So A&M's, their defensive coordinators, their coaching staff, Mike Elko, are really good at adjusting on the fly, maybe throwing something at you that you haven't seen. But that only makes it more important that you're able to bring any type of element of surprise or mystery into this game. You have to take advantage of it, and taking advantage of it early, right? I mean, the best way to maybe get a crowd like there will be at Kyle Field to be a little more silent is to score early. And if you do something that you haven't done all year, then maybe that can cause a defensive miscommunication on the back line. Or maybe that can cause a miscommunication in the middle of the field where Arkansas was really successful against them this year. And then maybe you're able to get some chunk plays, get a little momentum early, and then get yourself enough of a lead to make them have to play from behind, right? And that's the thing with Texas A&M. I mentioned in the first hour. Historically, they've never been in the spot, especially since they joined the SEC. They've not been in a spot where they are 9-0. They have 2 SEC games left. You're playing one team under 500, and then another team is your arch rival. And all you got to do is presumably win one of those to be able to get to the SEC championship. Again, something they have never done before. If you kind of put some pressure on and make them have to play in pressure, we'll see exactly if it makes diamonds, right? Like for Indiana, for example, Penn State put pressure on them. Penn State put pressure on them early. And then when Indiana got a little bit of a lead, Penn State came back. And there's nothing more pressure-packed than having to go score a touchdown in the last drive of the game with 6 minutes or less, not 6 minutes left, less than 3 minutes left in that game. Now, to Indiana's credit, they took it. They won the game. But Penn State played well enough to be able to win that game. And sometimes the other team just wins the game. Force them to have to take it, right? And part of that can be a little bit of the element of surprise. Tonight, though, college football playoff rankings going to be released again. There's a couple things I'm looking for, right? And there are a couple teams that I think are completely eliminated. So when I went and looked at all the resumes of the teams that are eligible, that I consider eligible for the college football playoff, that I haven't completely eliminated, there are a couple teams that I wrote down that I now have to remove. I have to remove Memphis, and I have to remove Louisville. Louisville lost at home to Cal. That's a loss outside the FPI top 30. They've got too many of those type of losses. They haven't lost a ton of games, but the ones they have not been pretty. And for Virginia, too, Virginia at least still has a shot, right, to play in the ACC title game. And that's where things are going to get really interesting, is what the College Football Committee does with the ACC, what they do with Miami right now, too, because Miami took care of business over the weekend. They were at 18 last week. Do they move up spots, right? Because their 2 conference mates ahead of them fell short. Louisville got beat and Virginia got beat. Both of those teams were ahead of Miami in the college football playoff rankings. So does that make Miami a little bit closer? Well, certainly they're going to get helped out by those losses. But one thing that is not helpful for them is their placement in the ACC standings, right? Because they have 2 losses in the conference. If you want to feel safe about it, my thing in any of these conferences like the ACC or Big 12 is you got to at least get to your conference championship game, and then maybe you can get SMU, right, which is having protection for losing that game. Because if you were in the bracket last year and you went into that first Saturday in December in your conference championship game, you basically got an assurance from the committee that you won't get punished for losing that game. So they've already kind of set that precedent, but you got to get in that 12-team field first. And I don't know if Miami will be able given the amount of teams ahead of them in the ACC standings to get to Charlotte. Duke's at 4-1 in conference play. SMU is at 5-1 in conference play. Pittsburgh is 5-1 in conference play. Virginia, even after the loss, is 5-1, and so is Georgia Tech. So that is a whopping Duke, SMU, Pittsburgh, Virginia, Georgia Tech. 5 teams that are essentially tied for first in that league. Only 2 of them can play in Charlotte on that first Saturday in December. Miami's kind of at everybody's mercy. What they do with Miami, I'm not 100% sure. I think they should get a bump. I think you should move Louisville and Virginia behind them just from a resume standpoint. Yes, I know Louisville won at Miami, but Miami's resume is still good enough to where they can get an edge over Louisville in that regard. So that's kind of where I stand with the ACC, and that's where a lot of the intrigue is for me tonight. Now, one thing we might learn, and if I'm going through and I'm fielding this thing, last week I had Texas at 10. And I don't like punishing teams for winning, but this is a resume-based ordeal, right? When you field the college football playoff, what this committee is tasked of doing is looking at the resumes of every team that is eligible for this or that they think still has a shot and weighing out strength of wins, strength of losses. And what might be considered a decent loss one week can be a really bad loss the next week. The worst thing that happened to Texas over the weekend was Florida getting drubbed in Lexington, Kentucky. Kentucky didn't just beat Florida. They whopped them on Saturday night, 38-7. Florida is completely tanked, and it's going to get a whole lot worse for Florida right now too. And if Florida were to have, say, won that game and finished the season with a little bit of dignity and finish the season inside the FPI top 30, right? Then you can look at that as a decent loss. But last week, going into the week, in the FPI, Florida was number 25. Well, nothing's going to make that worse than going at Kentucky and getting your brakes beaten off by a really bad Kentucky team, a team that was previously not winless, but next to last in the SEC. And they have to go at Ole Miss, and they host Tennessee, and then their most winnable game is Florida State. There's a really good chance that Florida ends up 4-8 this season, or maybe even 3-9 if it gets that ugly. And if that's the case, that is a terrible loss for Texas to have on their resume. This is a resume-based ordeal. And even though Texas did not even play this weekend, they could still get punished because one of their losses has aged like milk on a hot day in the middle of July. Could not have been a worst-case scenario for them. Notre Dame has 2 losses, but their losses have aged gracefully, right? One to Texas A&M at home, who is now the number 3 team in the college football playoff, and another one is to Miami on the road, right? That helps. Now, what Miami does the rest of the year might dictate whether or not that one ages better, but that's still to be seen. Still, their worst loss at Miami is way better than Texas's worst loss at Florida, which is at this point only further sinking, right? It's becoming a much worse situation because if we look at the FPI rankings right now, it takes a while before you're able to get to Florida, right? That is a win that even the computers don't appreciate as much anymore. And these are the type of things that the committee looks at when it comes to fielding this thing. So Florida went from 25 to 35 in FPI with that loss. And usually they look at things inside the top 30. It's aging a whole lot worse for Texas right now. And I think that one's going to be applied tonight. But if we're looking at roadmaps, Texas has a little bit of hope because their destiny is really still in their hands. They get to play at Georgia, which is a team that is number 5 in the college football playoff rankings, 6 in FPI. And then they get to play Texas A&M at home, who is number 7 in FPI somehow, but number 3 in the college football playoff rankings. They have 2 games against the top 5 of teams in the college football playoff rankings right now. If they're able to win both of those games, I think now you might have to win both to be able to get in because your loss to Florida only looks so much worse. So that's the stuff I'm kind of looking for tonight when it comes to the unveiling of the college football playoff rankings. And in the state of college football that we're at right now, this is just something that we're going to have to keep up with on a week-to-week basis in November because this is where precedent is set. They set a little bit of it last year. We'll see how much is actually followed here in 2025 moving forward. But we'll go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our early game morning meeting because there's a rivalry game tonight. There's a rivalry game. Dawn Staley and her South Carolina Gamecocks face off against Clemson. Does Clemson actually have a chance? Can this be interesting, or is it going to be the same story we've seen the last few years? We'll discuss that coming up next.
Percival Road at I-77, we have an accident there. Also, Coon Store Road at Highway 21. And Assembly at Whaley, basically, there's railroad track repairs happening until 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So Assembly is closed between Catawba and Whaley due to those repairs. And your forecast, 50, cold and breezy today, overnight low of 34. Tomorrow, 65 will be our high, 69 on Thursday. And overnight lows, a little bit better, 41, 39, somewhere in there. But at least daytime highs are improving. 34 right now on the early game.
We are live here at Charwood Country Club here on Veterans Day. Sun's finally coming up a little bit, which means he might thaw out a little bit. It was awfully cold leaving the house this morning. But as we always do, the 7:15 segment every morning, it's time to get to the early game morning meeting where we'll discuss a rivalry game being played tonight. Jen, hit it.
Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day. Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
And we should feel awesome about South Carolina's chances of winning some Palmetto points tonight because South Carolina on the hardwood takes on Clemson in women's basketball. Dawn Staley and her team 2-0 so far this season and have been an absolute buzzsaw so far to start the year, starting with a 94-54 win over Grand Canyon and a 114-47 win over Bowling Green. They are firing on all cylinders early, this Gamecock team is, and they're getting into kind of like the meat of their non-conference schedule. Like starting tonight, they got Clemson. Saturday, they play Southern Cal away from home. Then they have Duke on a neutral floor on the 26th. Then December 4th, they're playing a good Louisville team on the road, true road game. And those are really the highlights of who they got in non-conference play this season. But starting tonight, you'll see a little bit more of a bump in competition, because if you're just looking at Bart Torvik's rankings, which is kind of like the equivalent to KenPom, similar numbers, similar methodology here, but they do women's basketball and men's basketball. Clemson is 37 in their rankings. Bowling Green sitting right now at 152 and Grand Canyon 106. So it is a significant bump in competition. So you might not see 100 points tonight, but who knows? You never know. They might actually still end up their hot scoring streak. But right now, this is the most efficient offense and most efficient defense in women's college basketball. Second best shooting team in women's college basketball, the South Carolina Gamecocks are. They are playing incredible right now. I expect them to be able to win tonight, but Clemson is improved. And I posed the question before the segment as to whether or not Clemson can make it competitive, right? The last few years, they've been blowouts, right? Dawn Staley owns this rivalry pretty well, the same way she owns a lot of different things like the SEC, winning 3 national championships. But I think Clemson can at least make it interesting for a half, right? Because they're improved. I'll give Sean Poppy's, his props. They've been improved this year. They've won their first 2 games by sizable margins, beat Mercer by 21 at home. They beat South Carolina upstate by about 40 points, 76-38, close to it. But they've shown some improvement, and they're shooting the 3 ball really well. If Clemson wants to make this thing interesting, they got to continue to knock down threes at a pretty higher rate, right? They've made 40% of them so far. They shoot a lot of them too, and they play a slow pace. That's really, in a game like this, when you're kind of out-rostered by a sizable margin, sometimes the best thing you can do is just slow the game down and shoot a lot of threes and play a lot of high-risk type basketball. However, I just don't see Dawn's bunch allowing that to happen. So they got that going on tonight. So we'll get our first peek at the basketball Palmetto Bowls this season. And then tomorrow night, the men's team returns back home to play Presbyterian, a Presbyterian team ranked 304 in Ken Palm right now. South Carolina men coming off of a thrilling overtime win against Southern Miss. Now, granted, you don't want to hear thrilling and overtime win versus Southern Miss all brought together in the same sentence, but there were some positives to take away from that. We talked about it a little bit yesterday where Michi Johnson kind of goes berserk from three-point range at the end of that game. He goes 7 of 14 throughout the entire game and brings them back from the dead, right? They were down 11 with under 4 minutes left, and it did look awfully bleak, but they're able to escape that game. They'll have Presbyterian at home. And if you look at the men's non-conference slate, not a ton of games of significant note. They will take on Butler and Northwestern in West Virginia for some neutral site games, which in Butler, Northwestern, solid teams. The team I'm looking forward to them playing the most is Virginia Tech, because if you missed it over the weekend, they'll play Virginia Tech on December 2nd at home. But Virginia Tech got a big win themselves against Providence on a neutral floor, and they have a player that's starting to make NBA rounds, right? Getting NBA attention. And that is freshman point guard, I'm trying not to botch this, Neoklis Avdalis. Jen, do you think I botched that? I think I did. Neoklis Avdalis. Well, he's a 6'9" point guard, right? Which already kind of gives you a significant advantage. Scored 33 points against Providence over the weekend, was 5 of 8 from 3, dished out 6 assists. And he's starting to draw some comparisons. Now, I'd be pumping the brakes on any type of comparisons, but after watching that game yesterday between Virginia Tech and Providence, that 6'9" freshman point guard has certainly made it a little more interesting to me, whereas I didn't have much interest in a Virginia Tech South Carolina men's basketball game in early December. So if you're looking for non-conference games to go to at CLA, I would say that's one you should probably have on or keep an eye out on, because that one can actually be a really interesting game, be a really good measuring stick for Coach Lamont Paris and his team. My man Michael Solish from the State newspaper just walked in right now, so we'll go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, Michael's going to join us to get his thoughts on the offensive coordinator change, what he thinks Mike Furry might mix up and do this weekend against Texas A&M, and that and a whole lot more. His takes from the weekend, from the college football weekend, with what happened in the NFL on Sunday. A whole lot to talk to with Michael Sauls. He joins us for the rest of the show, starting next. Thank you, Jen. Let me go ahead and pull that up so I don't. Results-based industries, roofing and waterproofing, definitely one of those industries. But for nearly 30 years, Midstate Roofing has been that leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And that proven history, again, 3 decades worth of sample size. I think you know what you're getting, and you're getting proper advice, service, and most importantly, those results to the very specific needs of your facility. And they do so in a manner that's both safe and pleasing to your operation. So it doesn't matter if it's high-rise or hospitals, manufacturing to industrial. They design and install bonded systems that give you that protective guarantee to keep the operation dry and running long into the future. Give them a call today, 803-356-1919, or you can hit them up online at midstateroofing.com.
Assembly Street closed between Catawba and Whaley until 7 o'clock tomorrow night for some railroad track repairs. So just keep that in mind. Assembly between Catawba and Whaley closed until tomorrow night. Highway 321 between Glen Road and Charleston Highway. Also I-20 westbound at Alpine. Coon Store Road at Highway 21, getting that cleaned up. Old Barnwell Road near Old Orangeburg Road, kind of right there at Garden Pond Drive. We have a report of an accident. And one more, Percival Road at I-77. 50 will be our high today. It's going to be kind of breezy out there, cold. Overnight low of 34, 65 for tomorrow. Still a little bit breezy tomorrow, but at least a little bit warmer. That overnight low of 41, 69 on Thursday. Still holding at 34 right now.
I sent the bat signal out, and he responded. My man Michael Sauls from the State newspaper hanging out with me here live at Charwood Golf Course right now. Michael, thanks for getting up this early and hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me.
Heard you had a little car trouble. Make sure
I
you got
did.
here okay?
I did. It took a second to get the thing started this morning, but we got it and we're here.
I had a little bit of a mini heart attack this morning when I left my house because obviously it's dark when you leave at like 5 o'clock every morning. I walk out and I look at my car, which is right in front of my house, and the light's on inside. And I know I definitely left it on after looking for something last night. So I'm like, please start. You'll be
walking to work at that rate.
Yeah. And after about 3 terrifying seconds after putting the key in the ignition, it finally turned on. And that feeling of relief right after, priceless.
Yeah.
Priceless. But I panicked. I was panicking for a couple of seconds. So we've been dodging all kinds of bullets here this morning. But one of the hot topics that we've been talking about, Michael, obviously the last week and a half or so since the change was made, Mike Shula's firing, Mike Furry being the interim offensive coordinator. We'll start off first, though. I want to kind of get your thoughts when you think about the Mike Shula era at South Carolina in terms of offensive play calling. The thing that is going to stick with you the most, once we get maybe a couple of years removed from it, the thing that you're probably going to remember the most would be
that they were last in the SEC in scoring, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
in most categories.
Not even just
in most
scoring,
categories.
Categories.
Yardage, passing yards, rushing
I think
yards.
that's what's going to stick out, especially if you can, hit a home run with this next guy, and the next guy just flips it around production wise. I mean, you're going to look at these, 9 games? It feels like an eternity, honestly, from how
10 if you count the bowl game.
10 if you count the bowl game.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at the 10 games that he had as an offense coordinator. I mean, it was just not great. And it's one of those where, again, if you hit the next hire out of the park, it's wow, we were really bad in 2025 plus that one bowl game in offense. So I think that'll probably be his legacy. Like you said, last in nearly a SEC category.
And it probably does get enhanced if you do bring in somebody and things change.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Which that's what makes us this hire so important. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer to say that Shane Beamer's next decision in terms of who he's going to hire to be the offensive coordinator is the biggest decision he's had to make so far at South Carolina because, look, not a lot of coaches survive going 4-8 or 5-7, right? And you're looking at a 4-8 and 5-7 year this year. And if you do finish, let's say you do finish 5-7, then it's the second 5-7 in 3 years, right? Something needs to change in the program to change your trajectory. You thought you had it changed after a 9-win season. Now you got to be able to show that that's not a one-off, that this is a program that you're building, and you can't do that if you're constantly going backwards after good years. And now we've seen another instance of going backwards after a really good year. So really, I think so much of the future of this program kind of hinges on this one hire. And I don't ever like being hyperbolic in that regard, but I can't help but look at the situation and come to that conclusion.
I don't even think it's hyperbolic. I think it's completely fair. I mean, 2 years ago, we were talking about, Beamer's coming into 2024 on the hot seat. What's going to happen? And then
I got asked that a lot at media days, whether or not
and then
that's real.
They win 9 games, and I'm going to SEC media days this year, asking these national pundits, hey, do you think South Carolina's turned a corner? And they're all like, yes, absolutely. I think Shane Beamer's got things rolling. I think South Carolina is here to stay. And here we are now. So no, I don't think it's hyperbolic at all. I think this offense coordinator hire will be huge, not only for the trajectory of the program, but if we're going to be honest, the trajectory of the rest of Beamer's tenure at South Carolina.
Now, for at least in the interim, right? Mike Furry is going to be calling plays. And really, if you want to achieve anything this year, you can at least achieve a bowl game. That's one thing that's still achievable on paper, because if you win, you pull off a shocker against A&M on Saturday, and then you're able to take care of business against Coastal. And then if you're able to beat Clemson, you finish 6-6, and you get to play at least one additional football game at a neutral site location and keep the band together for a couple more weeks.
Have a little fun.
You have a little fun. Get some extra practices that can maybe be useful for next season. Yeah. But in order to do that, you obviously have to do something like win at the number 3 team in the country. But with Mike Furry calling plays now, how much do you expect things to look different? I think we all know they're going to look different. I think the big question is, to what degree does it actually show?
I don't know. I would expect them. I'm not expecting them to completely overhaul everything, just because that's kind of an unrealistic expectation with the fact that you had a bye week, so you had an extra week, and then you had this week. But I feel like it would be realistic to say, things are going to look a little different. I think they'll probably, based off of, the offense he ran at Limestone, which, is, Limestone, South Carolina. But I think based off of all that, I think it was a relatively pass-happy kind of scheme, but I don't know. We'll see. I guess time will tell, really. I think it'll probably look a little bit different, but I also think if anything, you just want it to feel different. You want to feel like you are doing literally anything on offense, because there have been times this season with the South Carolina offense, you just kind of look and go like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. Oh, so many times this year. I keep thinking back on that LSU game, because I think the LSU game is probably the most glaring example of this, where you were given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to get in that game. Your defense was creating those opportunities. It wasn't just LSU giving them to them. You were taking them, right? Peyton Williams picked off a pass in the end zone, right? DQ Smith took advantage of Garrett Nussmeier absolutely sailing one over a receiver's head. You forced a fumble at the goal line. You did a couple of things that is conducive to allowing you back into a football game, but your offense just never took over, whether it was the protection, whether it was the play calling, because I think we still, and we're looking at the more infamous decisions in South Carolina 2025 football lore this year. I think one of the things that people are going to go to is throwing at Mansour Delane, who's the best defensive back in college football, on 4th and 4 when he's stuck on Van Drevis Jacobs like glue, and basically wasting that play. And then you have no more chances to realistically win the game at that point. But that's how the offense has felt a lot this year, is that you just have not been able to take advantage of even some of the really good things your defense has done. Yeah. And if nothing feels different, to your point, nothing feels different, then that's maybe where a sense of hopelessness, not just within the fan base, but that can easily infiltrate a locker room.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, there are pieces on this offense. Like, this isn't an FCS level like roster. Like,
these guys aren't playing at my alma mater, right? None of these guys are playing at Middle Tennessee State. I can promise you that.
They're a bona fide like players on this roster, especially on the offense. Like Lenore Seward, how much the Sellers is getting paid, how much money to be here. Like, they don't just give that amount of money to you or I.
Right. Yeah. No,
this is like,
I've never seen that amount of money.
They don't just throw that money at anybody. And Van Drevis Jacobs, to your point, has proven to be a really good wide receiver this year. The tight ends have looked good. Even Matt Fuller is like coming along in the running back room. So there are pieces there. So I'm interested to see how, if Furry takes a different approach to getting people involved, or if he, just kind of, again, because you can't blow up the entire scheme. But I feel like it's one of those things where maybe he just tries to ad lib off of what is already installed, and he's gonna have to get a little creative regardless. So we'll see.
Oh, for sure, and it's his opportunity to prove that he can do that, right? His opportunity to prove that he can get creative with an offensive scheme, that he can turn some things around and be able to at least get it suitable to be competitive in this game. Because look, it's Watch the Tape Tuesday here in the early game. So Preston and I did a lot of our main takeaways from just watching Texas A&M really closely. And I look at this team, Michael, and I'm like, I don't know if I noticed one particular flaw, right? Really, I think there are 3 teams in college football. Maybe you can add Alabama into that mix, depending on how some people feel about Alabama. Except I think they're one of the 5 best teams in college football, but there's something that is holding me back. And
Vibes are off. The vibes are off.
Yeah, and I can't really explain it right now. But A&M, every game I've watched, I've always been really impressed with how they play offense, how they play defense, especially that defensive front, which is nasty. You're a defensive line guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you can appreciate a good edge rusher. I think Cassius Howell might be the best one in college football right now.
Yeah, I mean, A&M is undefeated for a reason. I mean, it's I admittedly have not watched a whole lot just because we're in the press box on Saturdays, but the little that I have, kept up with A&M this year, whether it be via the box score or highlights, I mean, the things that pop out to me, dude, that quarterback's good. That quarterback is really good at football, and like you said, that defensive line is phenomenal.
Nasty, nasty.
So yeah, it's going to be a very tall task to go into College Station, right? College Station, yeah.
Yep, College Station.
That's one of those. I say College Station.
I think they refer it.
Wrong?
Yeah, I think I've got an email because we get some random emails here. If you go to SEC Media Days, people see you're at SEC Media Days, so you'll get some random emails. And I got one from like the tourism division at Bryan College Station. And they say, well, we prefer you refer to us as Bryan College Station. And guess what? I have not done this entire season. I just completely forget.
So when they
go
A&M
to folks. Sorry, apologies.
When they go to A&M, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a hard game to win, and
they've never done it.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's one of those things where I want to completely count them out for this game, but Shane Beamer knows how to win games he's not supposed to. So,
which has kind of been the thing that pulls a lot of people back this year. It's pulled a lot of people kind of back into having a little bit of optimism, or putting the garnet glasses on a little bit.
Yeah, if they found a way to somehow win at A&M, I would not be completely surprised.
Now, this is realistically the last time that Texas A&M and South Carolina are playing as an annual thing, right? Because the schedule changes next year. The every year opponents, will be a little different. No Texas A&M as being one of them. They played every year since A&M joined the league. It's one of the SEC's kind of like forced rivalries.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that Texas A&M has been a legitimate rival for South Carolina in terms of hatred? Yes, A&M is 9-2 in the series. Didn't get a win in the series until 2022. I get it from an unbalanced standpoint, but did you ever actually feel an emotional disdain towards Texas A&M as somebody who's from here?
And as an alum of the school, no, I don't even. I think it was like, dang, we got to play A&M again. Why can't we play someone else in the West like regularly? Like I don't think I ever.
Arkansas would have been so much better. It was there for the taking.
Or like so much better. Any other school in the West would have been fine. I don't. I think it's just because, like, I get they technically made that a trophy game, right? Like
the bottom trophy.
Yeah,
yes.
There is a trophy attached to this very forced rivalry. Now, as a student at USC and growing up, I don't think I think the only time I ever felt any like malice towards A&M was the SEC Network game.
The Kenny Hill game. Yes, that's our second Kenny Hill game mentioned on the show this morning.
I think that's probably the only time, and I was what 2014. All right, so I was 13-year-old Michael Sauls watching that game and just being absolutely torn to shreds by how bad they got smacked. But I've never felt any ill will towards A&M. It's kind of like you said, kind of a forced rivalry.
Yeah, that game wasn't making people crush on South Carolina, but it is Team Crush Tuesday. We'll give you our teams for this week coming up next. Oh, you hear this? You know what time it is. Jen Jensen's letting us know that it's Team Crush Tuesday here on the early game. Michael Falls from State Newspaper joining me. This is his first Team Crush Tuesday this year.
It is.
So congratulations. Excited. I think love this segment because we talk about South Carolina football. And obviously, if you're listening to this program, you're probably a South Carolina fan or you're a Clemson fan. Hey, listening, we welcome everybody, right? We are for all fan bases of all kinds. But sometimes in football, when you're a lover of the game itself or any other sport, really, because I like those, I'll open this segment up to other sports. But there's sometimes you watch a team with no emotional interest, but you just fall in love with how they play or fall in love with like what type of team they are. Maybe like a coach or anything like that. A system, right? But there's something draws you to them. Like, oh man, I really want to watch this team play. They're on right now. That's what we kind of dedicate this segment for. So, Michael Saul, since you're the guest, your Team Crush Tuesday this week is.
I will start with Texas Tech football.
Okay, I like it.
I watched the second half of the BYU game on Saturday. I loved the Aperture Stadium. I love that linebacker. That dude is crazy.
Rodriguez,
I want him to be part of the Heisman race. Like it gives off like Manti Te'o's Heisman finalist vibe.
Okay,
I think
best player on an ascending team.
Yeah, I think stat wise he might pass Teo.
Ooh, we might have to do a comparison. I have not thought to look.
I saw something about it the other day. Like, hey, he's having like a Manti Teo Heisman finalist-esque season. But his stats might be better. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Admittedly, I've done my research on that, but I like the narrative. Yeah, I'll start. That'll be my football. My darling for this week's Texas.
Mine on football is because that was the most fun game this weekend. It's Indiana. Those who've listened, I have a complicated love-hate thing with Indiana. I fell in love with their ascension last year because it was really cool to see a predominant basketball school that has not been anything in football ever experience that success. And having a coach who opened up his press conference, answering a question with "I win." Google me. I love the bravado. Yeah. And then this offseason, there was a whole lot of, we're taking the SEC scheduling model, which I'm not doing this because I'm some homer for the SEC. It's just factually incorrect, right? Like, there's one thing to say something, but if you do it and it's factually incorrect and say it with such confidence, like I'm an expert on saying things incorrectly with way too much confidence, right? I know it when I see it, and I didn't like it. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I think breaking schedule agreements to schedule teams you're going to beat by 50 is soft, weak, and cowardly.
Correct.
But then this year happened, and they win at Oregon. And now they did what they did at Penn State. Yes, they want, like, Penn State's been disappointing. But you know what? I can't sit here and give Alabama credit for taking the game at South Carolina and not do the same thing for Indiana, because that would be a little hypocritical, right?
Just a wee bit.
Alabama went at South Carolina, didn't play their best game, found a way to win. And I gave them credit for it. So Indiana goes to Penn State, an underachieving team, but found a way to win. And they didn't it wasn't just like it was a fluky thing here and there. They made plays. Fernando Mendoza made like 3 elite NFL throws on that drive. And then, of course, the catch, which is in terms of what happened in the situation that it was in, one of the most impressive catches I've ever seen from Omar Cooper.
That shout out to the official for getting that.
Incredible. Oh, we talked about him yesterday too. Good Lord. To be able to see him high point the ball and immediately turn his attention down to his feet. Yeah. Also, white cleats, white boundary. Not an easy call to make by any means.
That was one of those. I was not watching that game at all. And then something in me was like, hey, just put on the Indiana game, just see what's happening. I turned on 2 plays later, that catch happened. So I was glad I got to see that live and not on Twitter. But yeah, man, not to pull for the officials, but shout out to the officials.
I mean, we dump on them all the time. If they do something correct, I feel like they deserve to get a little bit of credit.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah. With Indiana football this year, I very much liked, the story last year. I was like, oh, look at Indiana. Look at them. They're doing good. It's kind of like
cute story.
It's kind of like when you mentioned how, a basketball school who has no success in football does something good in football. Kind of the way I felt when Kansas had a really good year a couple years ago.
When Kansas is really good, I cheer for Kansas. I'm like, you're not supposed to be doing this. What are you doing here?
Exactly. But to your point, this year with all the scheduling rhetoric in the offseason, I was like, I kind of I was over it. But I was like, all right, I'll stop hating because you guys are good at football. Like,
oh yeah,
you're doing the right things. You're winning. You're finding ways to win games. No, IU football is crazy, man. I genuinely, I kind of hope for their sake, though, when they inevitably make the playoff, that they are not a one and done. Even though, don't get me wrong, as a Notre Dame fan, I was glad that's how it happened last year.
that they beat them down pretty good.
Yeah,
which turns out Notre Dame ended up playing in the national title game.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think they were pretty good in their own right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure someone can dig up the clip from September of me referring to Kurt Signetti as an FCS merchant. That aged like milk. But starting the third hour, a lot happened in the NFL that we didn't get to yesterday. So we'll get to it with our pal Michael Sauls from the State newspaper. That, message board mayhem, and a whole lot more to kick off hour number 3 of the early game. All that coming up next, live from Charwood Country Club. All right, got my zero res read here. Thanksgiving is coming up, and you know what? When you're hosting your friends and family and you have football on in the background and you're doing your best to make sure everybody's having a good time, it helps to know that your house is as clean as possible and is in tip-top shape. And Zerorez is celebrating their Thanksgiving by thanking you this year with their fall sale. Elijah, what is their fall sale? Hey, I'm glad you asked. Because right now, if you just mention my name, Elijah Campbell at 1075 The Game, you can get $45 per room of carpet cleaned for an unlimited amount of rooms. And if you schedule 3 or more rooms, well, you can add on a hallway for $1. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me. You don't want to miss that. I know I'll be taking advantage of that just so I can be able to host comfortably. Do the same for yourself, because even if you're not doing it for Thanksgiving, Christmas is coming up too. What better way to get out ahead of it than contacting my friends at Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning? Schedule online now at ZerorezColumbia.com.
Highway 321 between Glen Road and Charleston Highway, an accident there. Also, I-20 eastbound at I-77, and then I-20 westbound at Alpine Road. There's an accident there. Coon Store Road at Highway 21. Old Barnwell near Old Orangeburg Road, and also an accident in the cleanup stages. Percival Road at I-77. And just a reminder, Assembly Street between Catawba and Whaley closed until 7 o'clock tomorrow night due to railroad track repairs. And the forecast is going to kind of repair itself, so to speak. Breezy today and cold, 50 for the high. Overnight low 34, but 65 tomorrow, 69 on Thursday. It's still kind of chilly this morning, breezy, 34.
Lane Johnson, Reed Blankenship, and Cooper DeGene.
Hour number 3 of the early game, live from Charwood Country Club, starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Jen Jensen. Joining us here, filling in for Preston, one Michael Sauls from the state newspaper as he waves to the camera. Got a fun third hour for you. We'll talk some NFL here in this segment. We didn't get to a ton of it yesterday, so we saved it because there's definitely some takes. And Michael's a Broncos fan, and their defense is pretty good. Message board mayhem's coming up after this, and more discussion on what South Carolina needs to do offensively to be able to give themselves a puncher's chance in College Station on Saturday as an 18.5-point underdog. But in the NFL, we were just talking about here in the break, Michael. You're Denver Broncos. Now, ugly game against the Raiders, but you'd rather win ugly than lose pretty.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's getting maybe enough talk, at least locally for us, because this guy, the Broncos aren't necessarily in our daily vernacular here.
They're not.
It's a little far away, but I think what a lot of people maybe aren't realizing is how good Nick Bonito is.
Oh, he's so good.
Like,
he's so good at football. It's insane.
I saw this from NFL Next Gen Stats yesterday, and I was like, I got to use this at some point. Most in the NFL in total pressures, he's responsible for 51 pressures this year. They played how many games now? Like 9, 10?
10. Yeah, I think they're 8-2.
Yeah, I don't know if they've had their bye week yet.
Yeah.
But here's one stat that is even crazier. He's got 28 quick pressures, which is something that NFL Next Gen Stats identifies as a pressure forced in less than 2.5 seconds. So regardless of how good your line normally protects, on average, NFL quarterbacks have about an average of 3 seconds in terms of time to throw. But if you get to them in less than 2.5, it's considered a quick pressure. 28 of those this season. That is insane. I think that might be, as many good defensive players we have in the NFL, like Myles Garrett is having an incredible season. Micah Parsons is having a really good season. Aiden Hutchinson became the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of football this season, and rightfully so. He is that good.
Yeah.
But Nick Bonito, maybe not discussed enough in terms of kind of the pantheon of best edge rushers in the NFL this season. He's having a remarkable year for them.
Yeah, Nick Bonito will win Defensive Player of the Year. And I'm not even just saying that as a homer, as a Broncos fan. I think he'll win it. And you look at, just speaking of Aiden Hutchinson's contract, the deal that Denver has Nick Bonito on is criminal compared to Hutchinson. And we just extended him, and then the Hutchinson deal happened after. And I'm like, oh my God, thank goodness we got him on the deal.
That's why you do it early.
Yeah,
that is why the market will force you to end up overpaying if you wait, right?
Yep,
That's the thing. That's something about like Jerry Jones that always drives me crazy is like sometimes he will not get out ahead of it. So you end up having a situation like you had with Micah Parsons. If you just nipped it in the bud earlier, then you don't have to worry about paying him what the market would demand of an edge rusher of Micah Parsons' ilk because you got it done early, right? Like we've seen, like the Atlanta Braves have done that in baseball really well, right?
Yeah.
Immediately signing Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr. to longer-term deals, and they end up aging like fine wine, especially Acuna, because look,
that man's getting paid nothing.
MVP level player, and you look at what other MVP players have won the MVP in the National League, like it ends up turning out to be a remarkable deal.
Yeah.
In the NFL, it's the exact same way, right? Like you look at what Aiden Hutchinson did, completely resets the edge rusher market. If you get an edge rusher here in the next couple of years that is just comparable to him, that contract will be for more. That's just how this naturally works. We see it with quarterbacks all the time. And if you just kick that can down the road, you're more than likely going to have to end up paying a contract that might not age as well a little further along. So the Broncos extending him early is a really good, savvy GM move for them.
Absolutely. And to your point with the next gen stat you brought up, he is so fast off the line. That first step that he takes is, oh my God, it's phenomenal to watch. It's like poetry in motion, honestly. That entire defense is good. I mean, you have Jonathan Cooper on the other side. You have Zach Allen on the interior.
Draft steal, Jonathan Cooper.
Absolutely.
7th rounder?
Absolutely.
Like a 7th rounder?
Yeah. Huge steal. When PS2 comes back, Pat Surtain, and you've got Riley Moss, Alex Singleton, who will miss some time at the linebacker, but you got Sternard at linebacker. I mean, that defense it's not exactly the 2015, defense that took them to the Super Bowl and beat the Panthers, but there are times where I'm watching Broncos games, I'm like, that looks really close. Like I think and it's funny because they have the offense to complement it too. Like Bo Nix is kind of streaky at times, admittedly, but he's having a bit of a sophomore slump. But they picked up a couple weapons in the offense to complement Cortland Sutton. I felt like for the longest time, Cortland Sutton was just there by himself. And there were times where I was like, guys, we just got to trade him to a contender because he's wasting his prime in Denver. Like, what are we doing? We're wasting him. But now we got to get the ball rolling, and he's looking great. RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins in the backfield is huge.
Getting J.K. Dobbins to be healthy. That's kind of been the big thing with that. That poor guy's career has just been plagued with injury. They watched him at Ohio State. Knows exactly what he could do, right? Like really talented running back. He's just not been able to stay healthy for most of his NFL career. And now he's got, I think it helps to have a complimentary back like RJ Harvey there to help out with that. So his workload isn't as demanding as some of the other running backs in the NFL. But you look at that division too. I mean, that's one of my favorite divisions, if not my favorite one in football right now, that in the NFC West. Because I think I legitimately feel like whoever gets out of the NFC West is probably going to the Super Bowl. I'm kind of leaning towards the Seahawks, like playing in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Like Team Crush Tuesday, my NFL Team
there
Crush,
you go.
the Seattle Seahawks. Like they are so good right now. Offense, defense. They won a game by on Sunday, beating the Arizona Cardinals. And I believe they ran the ball like 78% of the time. That's the highest since NFL Next Gen's been tracking. Like one of the highest percentage of run plays for a team that won a football game in a long time.
You just don't see that in the NFL anymore.
No, you don't.
78% of the time, let's just run the ball.
No, it's old school. Like it is old school. Now I want to get your fear meter here. Let's get the Michael Saul's fear meter out here, right? Like 1 being not scared at all. 10, you're Jamie Lee Curtis trying to escape Michael Myers in Halloween, right? So that's kind of the spectrum here. The Kansas City Chiefs are 3 games behind. 3 wins right now behind the Broncos. How fearful are you of that inevitable machine?
I'd say right now about a 3, just because, like you said, it's Kansas City. I'm pretty sure we play them next week. I've just in the decade since the Broncos won the Super Bowl, I just got so used to just complete and utter mediocrity being on the football field, and I think there was we had an insane losing streak to Kansas City during that time. I think we snapped 2 years ago. Should have beat them last year at one point in the regular season.
Blocked field goal.
That should have. I still think about that in my nightmares.
They had it.
Yeah,
they had it. It was right there.
I'd honestly though, I'd say a 3 just because if the offense kind of plays like they did against Oakland on Thursday, where it was just an ugly Denver finds a way to win, and I love that about this team. But eventually, you're gonna have to find a way to win, not in the fourth quarter,
right? And score more than 10 points. So that will be required to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say it's a healthy 3, and then get back to me after we play them in a week.
Now on the other side, the Los Angeles Chargers, because they're only 1 game back.
Yeah,
they got a big win. They won pretty convincingly against Pittsburgh on Sunday night. Got to play the Chargers. That'll be the team they play at the very end of the season. Have played them once already and lost on the road.
Yeah.
So how fearful would you be on a scale 1 to 10 of the Los Angeles Chargers?
3.5, 4, because we already lost to them this year. So it's it's hard to beat a team twice in a single season, but.
And you'll get them at home the next game. It's going to help.
Yeah. But I think those are really the only 2 teams I'm worried about on the rest of the schedule. It's just the teams in our division, because it's going to be hard to sneak into the playoffs if you drop 2 of those games. If you drop a game to Kansas City and a game to the Chargers, and then anything else the rest of the season, it's going to be kind of tough to sneak in. But I don't know. The schedule in the back half's pretty hard. We'll see how things pan out. I'm definitely not worried at all.
Which, at the beginning of the year, would you think that is a sentence that you would have said on November 11th?
No, I absolutely not. The fact that we are 8-2 is phenomenal. Snuck in the playoffs for the first time in almost a decade last year, and I was on cloud 9 watching that win. to get us in the playoffs. That CBS cut early and went to a different game, more competitive game. I say in air quotes, it wasn't even a blowout. It was crazy. But no, I've been stunned by the turnaround this year. It's been fun to watch.
Now, maybe there are 3 teams I would say are surprising 8-2. I'm surprised the Broncos are 8-2, but I wouldn't have been completely stunned the way I am with the other 2 teams in the AFC that are, and that's the Colts and the Patriots. What year is it? The Colts and Patriots both 8-2. Now the Colts, I mean, just give the ball to Jonathan Taylor, let him do his thing. But the Patriots winning in Tampa was one of the most impressive wins I've seen this season.
Yeah.
And Drake May continues to put up highlight reel throw after highlight reel throw. And apparently, as of yesterday, was like an odds-on favorite to win NFL MVP in year number 2. And I think a lot of it has to do with just how this team is succeeding. And a lot of that is the Mike Vrabel effect. The guy just wins, man. Yeah. That was a no-brainer hire. Mike Vrabel is just an absolute winner. And the fact that they have a 2-win lead, or game and a half technically, because they've played one more game than the Bills, but the fact they even have this lead on the Buffalo Bills is pretty shocking to me. I figured the Patriots would make the playoffs. That was kind of maybe my surprise team to make the playoffs. I would not have pinned them in to be the surprise team to actually win that division.
I think coming into the year, we all just kind of assumed that was the Bills' division to lose.
Well, I did.
Yeah,
like I for sure did.
I absolutely felt that way. I thought the Bills were. I was drinking the Hard Knocks Kool-Aid.
Okay.
I thought I was like the Bills go to Super Bowl and win it. They're breaking the curse right now. Like, this is the year. No, but the Patriots have, to your point, been extremely surprising. But also, I mean, Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones, in the Colts.
He's been really good.
That has been the biggest surprise for me, is watching that. My freshman year roommate in college was a massive Colts fan, so we would always bicker about that. So I should, Carson, if you're listening, congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I mean,
you guys are good.
They're good. And then trading for Sauce Gardner just
huge.
shores up something that, when I looked at the Colts too, the offense has been so efficient, and they manage the game really well. They score on a majority of their drives. No one can stop that running game. And Daniel Jones just isn't beating himself, right? Like, he is not costing you games. Like, I know that the term game manager is kind of thrown around with a negative connotation, but I think it's a positive thing for someone like Daniel Jones when you build an offense good enough to make it to where a quarterback doesn't have to throw for 300 yards to win you games. I think you've set yourself up nicely if you have that quarterback who's not turning the ball over. He's not turning the ball over. He's making good plays. He's getting the ball out to weapons. He's throwing the ball downfield nicely. He's doing everything that they need to do. And I mean, I do look at the Patriots and the Colts as teams that can legitimately win that conference. But if I had to make you pick which one that you would feel better, if I gave you $100, I said, Michael Sauls, you can only bet on either the Patriots or the Colts to make it out of the AFC and play in the Super Bowl. Which one would you actually put that on? Because I find these teams to be a little similar in terms of makeup.
That's tough. I think I would. I think I'd take the Colts just for the story of it. Just imagining Daniel Jones just suffering in New York. And then,
in year one, and having to win the job too, mind you. Remember the conversations we were having in August in the preseason, where it was like, oh, maybe the only real quarterback battle we have are the ones in New Orleans with Shuck and Rattler, and then the one in Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. And when Daniel Jones won that job, I think I, myself included, assumed it was just more of a damning indictment on the lack of development of Anthony Richardson. Correct. But I don't know if you can actually say that now, because Daniel Jones is playing this well and they're 8-2.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me back in August that Daniel Jones would have the Colts 8-2, I would have laughed in your face.
Right. Oh, it would have felt comical. I'm like, you're pulling my chain here, right?
Exactly.
And then of course they're also doing what I love. And that's with that Sauce Gardner trade. Kind of just pushing their chips to the middle of the table and going all in. I mean, you're in a window right now. The defense was the only thing that I was maybe iffy on. But if you get a defensive back, a corner who can shut down one half of the field like Sauce Gardner can, that helps everybody out immensely. That can create coverage sacks. That can create turnovers. It makes them a whole lot more dangerous, and they are absolutely coasting right now because the Jags didn't do themselves any favors by losing to Houston on the road on Sunday and blowing the lead that they did. I mean, Indianapolis is going to set themselves up to where maybe they don't have to play the first weekend of the playoffs, and they are automatically kind of shoot in the divisional round.
Yeah, I feel like, to your point, adding Sauce Gardner can only do good for that defense. I mean, he's a Pro Bowl level corner. I mean, that was a move where when the ESPN notification popped up, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. But like that was a good trade.
That's smart. Yeah,
that was very smart. Like you saw a need, and you addressed it. Like that was a really good trade by Indy, and I'm very interested to see how that pans out the rest of the season.
And on a scale of 1 to 10 before we get out of here, how proud of you that Rico Dowdle learned his lesson and did not pump once in the end zone after scoring against the Saints. He violated the pump rule.
Yeah.
He scored again, and it looked like he was about to.
Yep.
He knew better. He at least learned a lesson.
I'll give him a 10 just because it made me rewatch the Key and Peele sketch.
Most importantly, making you rewatch the sketch. But back to college football, the message boards are going crazy. In a year in which so many coaches are getting fired, we will look at some irrational hiring suggestions coming up next.
Looking for a countertop for a kitchen or a bath? Well, Carolina Stone Craftsman, just outside Columbia and Chapin, they are the place to go. They understand kitchen and bath projects. They're a significant expense, but they work to deliver the highest quality, most affordable granite, marble, and quartz while still providing the best customer service. I'm telling you, it's simple. Great countertops with no compromises. You need to check out their showroom and what all Rebecca and Ethan can offer, both interior and in hardscaping as well. We started working with Carolina Stone Craftsman when we remodeled a couple of bathrooms. Thrilled with the process. They were very helpful to help us figure out what exactly we were looking for. So if you need countertops for your kitchen or bath, I encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman. Tell them Jen sent you. They are family owned and operated. They're just beyond Columbia in Chapin. And beyond your expectations, visit them online, carolinastonecraftsman.com. Assembly Street between Catawba and Whaley closed until 7 o'clock tomorrow night for railroad track repairs. Also, an accident on Highway 321 between Glen Road and Charleston Highway. I-20 eastbound at I-77. Also, I-20 westbound at Alpine Road. I-26 eastbound at St. Andrews Road. We have an accident there. I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. And Old Barnwell near Old Orangeburg Road. Also an accident. Going to be another cool morning tomorrow. 50 for the high today, 34 the overnight low. Going to be cold and breezy today. Then we get up to a high of 65 tomorrow. Holding steady at 34 with some sunshine right now.
Oh, message board mayhem live from Charwood Country Club. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Michael Sauls from the State newspaper. And Michael Sauls, this is one of my favorite segments that we do because with the coaching carousel being as crazy as it has been this year, we will get some wild and wacky things pop up on message boards in terms of coaching hire suggestions, right? And you know what? One thing I've never understood, there's many things I don't understand in life, right? This isn't the only thing. There's many things I don't understand. I don't understand geometry. I don't understand chemistry. There are a lot of things in school I was not very good at because I just straight up did not understand them at the root. Never was really going to, right? Needed a lot of help in those subjects.
Of course.
Another subject I really need help in, and maybe you can help me, is the SEC fan base infatuation with John Gruden. I don't get it.
I don't have an answer for you.
I don't get it. I don't know what John Gruden's done in the last 20 years to make me think, yep, that guy's turning around my favorite college football program in one of the toughest conferences in America.
I don't know, dude. Every time it pops up, I'm just like, sure, whatever.
Because on Auburn Sports Board, one person goes, screw it, let's just hire Gruden. He can get some NFL folks to manage the roster and some good coordinators. He can just recruit. He can get a few players that played for him to help him recruit. They will have good players flocking to the barn. This is not amateur sports anymore. You know what? Even if you don't believe this is amateur sports anymore, because it's not, it actually hasn't been for a long time. That isn't going to work because I can point to you plenty of examples of guys who or schools who have used that same rationale to get coaches from the NFL, and it failed miserably. I remember how Herm Edwards at Arizona State finished.
Oh, God, that was terrible.
I remember that one pretty clearly.
Yeah.
I know how Bill Belichick's going at North Carolina.
Also terrible.
Not very good. No, if anything, it has actually been an abject failure and embarrassment for them. Yes, they did. They have won a couple games now, but it still has been an absolute nightmare from the beginning. John Gruden's not going to help out. And you can take NFL guys, and we've learned here, even in this market, even at South Carolina, we have learned that somebody who even has play called at the NFL level in the last 10 years still might have a hard time adjusting to the different nuances of the college game. I don't know if you could have a worse suggestion as an SEC fan with a coach opening than to bring in John Gruden. I don't get it. I'm still trying to find the root of where the Gruden fascination has come from.
Well, he won that Super Bowl that one time in 2002.
Yeah, I was 7 years old. It was really fun to watch. It was really fun to watch. As a 7-year-old, I loved those Tampa Bay defense. They were loaded.
Because I've had this discussion before. Like, I just completely don't understand. I pulled up his coaching record a second ago. I mean, it's 117 and 112 in 15 years as a head coach in the NFL.
Giving Jeff Fisher a run for his money in terms of being really good at going 8-8.
Yeah. No, I don't get it at all. Maybe it's just his the strictly the vibe he gives off, the way he hypes up teams. I don't know, dude. But I mean, if Bill Belichick can't have success in college, arguably the best NFL coach ever.
Yep.
If he can't have success at the college level, I don't think John Gruden is going to have success at the college level.
Now, what do you think is more outlandish to suggest if you're Auburn? John Gruden or Nick Saban?
That's tough. I think it's probably more outlandish to suggest Saban because we're talking about the school that hired Hugh Freeze. So like they probably would hire John Gruden. Let's be so real.
Right. Yes.
I feel like if Nick Saban came out of retirement, which is already, in my opinion, unlikely, he would not be going to Auburn.
Well, on Auburn Sports, the headline just reads Saban. It says, I heard from someone, mark that on your bingo card if you have it. I heard from someone who does have connections to the football program that we offered Saban $20.5 million a year on a 3-year contract. He said Saban didn't say no and would think about it. I can only wish this would happen. Where do you think that source came from? If you just had to guess.
Probably the second cousin of a brother who works in the ticketing office at Auburn.
It is fifth-hand information,
Yeah,
which I'm sure has not been distorted from one part to the other, right?
Not
in this game of telephone, I'm sure it has not been completely botched somewhere along that chain, that line of communication.
Yeah, no, there's no way that's actually real.
Oh, now, so we've heard 2 outlandish ones. Where would you rank this one here on outlandish? This is on tigerboard.com. You're like, Elijah, everybody's named the Tigers. Who are you talking about? This is Missouri specifically.
Okay.
And it just says, Dan Lanning is coming back to Missouri.
If Eli Drinkwitz is not at Missouri,
which I think that's they're operating under the assumption that maybe he takes another job, which I can see happening.
That one's not as outlandish. If Drinkwitz is gone, maybe they try to convince Mullen to,
or Lanning.
Yeah, sorry, Lanning. I wouldn't be. No,
like that's a pretty good gig.
Yeah, that's one of those where it's like it's outlandish, but like if you think about it hard enough, you can convince yourself that it could happen.
That's the danger of hope. If I think hard enough, I will convince myself of anything.
If you think hard enough, Dan Lanning will leave Oregon for Missouri. You know what? It happened. I'm not even lying. It happened in my NCAA 26 dynasty. So just strictly based off of that, that's why it took me a second. I was like, this happened. That's in that same dynasty. Shane Beamer is currently the head coach at SMU. So.
Oh, amazing how that carousel turns.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Oh man, that's remarkable. And then of course, something that would just happen, like on a video game, right? Mm-hmm. Last one. This is not a coaching suggestion. This is maybe a suggestion as to why Florida State is underachieving. Okay. And I think we can think of a lot of things, right? Constant roster turnover probably doesn't help create a lot of continuity. Maybe teams have figured out your offense after you put up that one game of film against Alabama. Teams are realizing what you're doing on offense a little bit. You're not catching anybody by surprise. I think maybe the flaws in Tommy Castellanos' game are probably a little more exposed, right? I think there's a lot of things that go into Florida State underperforming, and they underperformed at the max going to Clemson and not being particularly competitive. But on warchant.com, one poster says, players partying too much? I hear players were at a fraternity Thursday night having a lot of fun before leaving for Clemson. Maybe that's the new norm, but we only have 3 Power 4 wins since 12-23. Just saying. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but this entire football program is a joke. Who is being held accountable?
Teams are typically not on campus the night before a game.
Nope. Especially when they're traveling as far away from from Tallahassee to Clemson. So I would say it's probably some erroneous reporting from this fellow's source.
Yeah, maybe they found a frat in Clemson to go hang out at.
And if you're a frat in Clemson, then why wouldn't you invite them over to get them a little sluggish the next day?
That's about the only way that could make sense.
About the only way. And of course, when you're struggling the way Florida State has, then you're probably looking for anything as to why. But I think maybe those struggles a little more football related. South Carolina's had their fair share of football related struggles. Well, Mike Furry's got his chance to be able to turn this offense around. What does this offense need to do to make things competitive against Texas A&M on Saturday? We'll get Michael Saul's take on that coming up next here on the early game.
It's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. The work they did for us when we had a flood in our kitchen was absolutely phenomenal. They helped us out in so many ways, figuring out what we wanted, dealing with me because I was not happy with everything that had happened. But they made the process so much better and helped us decide what it was that we were looking for, or helped us determine what we were looking for and how we wanted to redo the kitchen. And every step of the process was fantastic. The photorealistic rendering of the finished kitchen gave me something to look forward to and gave us something to use to figure out all of the other elements of the kitchen that needed to be pulled together. But they can help you in so many ways, as I mentioned, in a closet, making that better, uh, creating a home office workspace. If you just want more functionality in your home, they can help. CHWCabinetry.com to learn more, or call them at 803-520-6837. Tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. Passion from inspiration to installation. I-26 eastbound at St. Andrews Road, still working an earlier slowdown there. Grover Wilson Road, that is, at Langford Road, an accident. On I-77 southbound at Forest Drive, you're going to need to stay left because the right lane is blocked. And we do have a closure, Assembly Street between Catawba and Whaley, and that's until 7 o'clock tomorrow night due to some railroad track repairs. 50, that's all we're going to get to today. It's going to be cold and breezy. The overnight low of about 34. Breezy at times tomorrow, 65 for the high, 69 on Thursday. Right now, it is sunny. It's only 31 on the early game.
Live from Charwood Country Club ahead of their Veterans Day event here. We'll have Rock Lucas on to be able to talk about what they got going on today here at Charwood and how you can support. That's coming up next in our winter segment. But right now, I wanted to run some numbers by Michael Sauls from the state newspaper. The numbers that I threw out to Preston Thorne earlier about the offense to date, right? We have 9 games of sample size with the South Carolina offense. Obviously not good enough to retain Mike Shula as the offensive coordinator. The change was made. Mike Furry will now be calling plays whenever the Gamecocks go to College Station on Saturday. So looking at a few of these, just to paint the picture of what the season's been like, Michael, Lenore Sellers this year pressured on 44% of his dropbacks on the season. 44%.
Not great.
Not great. Not ideal. His pass catchers have also accounted for 11 drops this season.
Not ideal.
But Lenore's pressure to sack percentage, not totally absolved of blame here, is 25%. So 1 out of every 4 times he's pressured, he is sacked. You want to be well below 15% in that regard. You don't want to get above 15%. He's at 25. It's one of the higher marks in the country. I think it'd be safe to say that kind of the struggles this year, a team effort, right? It's been a kind of a team failure. It's hard to really point at one thing. A lot of people look at the offensive line, which would be fair. A lot of people might look at maybe receivers, which, given that number, fair. And a lot of people can point to Lenore Sellers at times, which can also be fair. There's a lot of fairness in terms of how you can divvy blame in a season where you go 3-6 to start and have to remove your offensive coordinator before you get deep into November.
Yeah, I think in order for them to shock the world, I guess, against A&M, that offensive line, which you've talked about, injuries all season, turnover just kind of before the injuries even hit in terms of shaking up the lineup. The offensive line has to be perfect. And then Lenore Sellers also has to be perfect because, I mean, yes, some of those sacks were due to pressure, whether it be the running back missed a block or the offensive line missed a block. With some of the sacks, it just looks like Lenore just can't get the ball out of his hands. Mm-hmm. So I think that offensive line is going to be perfect because we talked about it earlier in the show. That Texas A&M defensive line is phenomenal. And if you want you want to do anything in this game, your offensive line is going to have to execute perfectly.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And if there's any bright spot on the offensive line in terms of run blocking, I mean, one thing I did find yesterday when kind of like sifting through a lot of these numbers is that your most effective run game, I'd say with a minimum of 20 attempts, was you're getting almost 7 yards per carry running off the right guard, which is where Trovon Ball likes to hang out.
There you go.
I mean, maybe your best run blocker right now. I think it'd be safe to say if you are trying to establish any type of run game, maybe stretch runs out to that side because I don't know how well you're getting by on running a lot of inside zone, which is their most popular play or concept rather so far this season.
Yeah, no, I mean, just run behind Tro the entire game.
All our run plays, run behind Tro. Find 78, plays, run behind him.
Plays. Yeah. Just you're spamming the same play like you do in the video game. No, I mean, it's kind of, it's a cliche in football, got to establish the run game, but I mean, you're going to have to against this Texas A&M team.
It's going to be hard. The A&M's only given up 200-yard rushing performances against their opponents in 3 games this year.
Yeah.
One, I think you can really chalk up to weak one-iness because UTSA ran for over 200 against them. Yeah. And out of the, 53 missed tackles that A&M has accounted for as a team this season, 14 came in that game.
Jeez.
They have not done that a lot this year. I ended up doing the math. They only miss about a smidge over 3 tackles per game after that. Like, they don't lose guys often once they have them wrapped up. And that's one of the strengths of this Texas A&M team. But Arkansas did have a lot of success in terms of just picking up yards on the ground. They're one of the 3 teams this year that has run for over 200 yards against A&M. And they did a lot of that with their quarterback and a lot of that on scrambles, right? Like I went back and looked at what Arkansas splits were in terms of where they ran the ball and how they did it, right? And if you go back and you look at some of those splits, you'll see that Arkansas, in terms of outside zone plays, only 8. 10 were gap runs, 6 were scrambles. But on those 6 scrambles, Taylor Green had 132 yards on those scrambles. If there is any type of blueprint to be able to get yourself in a position to make something wild happen, I think Lenore Sellers scrambling and having to be efficient with his scrambles is one of those things that maybe you can do if you want to try to replicate success that somebody else had against A&M.
I think it also helps that Taylon Green and Lenore Sellers are similar archetype players, I think. And you've seen success from Lenoris when it comes to scrambling, whether it was all last year, even at times this year, he's had success doing that. So now it's just a matter of fact of, one, can they attempt to replicate that blueprint? It's one thing to attempt to do it, but it's another thing to execute it.
Yes.
But also, you know, if we are able to find a trend like that, you know damn well Texas A&M was able to find a trend like that.
They're trying to shore that up.
And we'll probably shore it up. So, yeah, it's going to be, that'll be huge if they can do it. But, you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda. We'll see if it happens.
And that's like the one thing when watching, because I went back and watched Texas A&M Arkansas. Because I like at the time, I kind of had that one up while watching Georgia Ole Miss. And I was obviously more focused on Georgia Ole Miss because that one was getting really good. So my attention kind of pivoted. But when I went back and rewatched the Arkansas game, them and Texas A&M, I went down, I was just taking notes during the game, and I wrote down Taylon Green had to be a magician to make this game remotely close. No, they did score a touchdown with like 10 seconds left to make it 45-42.
Yeah.
So realistically, I mean, it was about a 10-point game up until the last 10 seconds. But Arkansas was able to put up 42 points against this defense. So as good as this defense is, they are not the 2000 Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. It's not that level of just shutting teams out. So there is a way to do it. And the more I watched that game, the more I realized Arkansas was able to get in the position they were because their really good scrambling quarterback who's hard to catch was hard to catch in that game. And if I'm to take anything from that, if I'm Mike Furry, like, look, the conversation might have to be, hey, Lenoris, the pocket's going to collapse a lot. Cassius Howell is arguably the best edge rusher in college football right now. We're going to need you to be able to, one quick read. If it's not there, don't be afraid to pull it and run, because that might be what you have to do is improvise a ton in this game.
Yeah, he's going to have to use his legs, and we'll see if it works.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately against Texas A&M against a defense like that. Sometimes seeing if something works is your best option.
Yeah, it's one of those where we can sit here and talk about, God, it would be so good if they did this, this, and this. But, man, this Texas A&M team is good. It's going to be hard.
Easier said
Absolutely
than done. Our man Rock Lucas here from Charwood Golf Club is going to join us here in just a moment to talk about their Veterans Day event. They are certainly a winner on Veterans Day, so we'll talk with Rock coming up next to round out today's early game. A lot of things can be bothering you in life, but if you're having issues with personal income or business tax issues, well, I have a solution for you. Give my friends a call at the Ecton Law Firm, 803-771-9800, because John Ecton and his team have local solutions, and they've been solving these issues for good for a long time. They understand those challenges that you or your business can face, no matter what it is. There's nothing that you can show them that they haven't seen before. So set up that free consultation today. Yes, I said free consultation at 803-771-9800. Those proven local solutions, they have helped thousands of families and businesses just like yours escape that IRS maze. So don't forget, take the first step to a worry-free life today by giving a call at 803-771-9800 or visit them at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com.
with them, cannot coach with them. Can't do it. I want winners. Winners.
Oh, we have winners for you today, Coach Singletary. As always, brought to you by Golden Spur. And our golden winner for today, as Rock Lucas takes a seat here next to me, obviously our veterans. Today is Veterans Day, a day where we get to take some time to thank a veteran. Thanks, Papaw, a veteran in your life. And you guys are hosting an event today for Veterans Day. And that's why we're out here at Charwood Country Club.
We appreciate it. Appreciate y'all being here. I think y'all been coming for many years now, probably pushing 7 or 8 years. And we appreciate y'all coming. We miss Bill now, not taking anything away from y'all, but we miss Bill being here and giving him a hard time, and then giving him a hard time on the golf course afterwards because he used to play with us. But so we wish he could be here. But anyway, we started this thing. This will be 28 years. My dad was a naval aviator, World War II veteran. I was Air Force and South Carolina National Guard veteran. Half our membership are veterans. So we decided that, excuse me, to honor my father, what a better way to do it. He passed away 28 years ago, and then we do this to raise money for children for, Christmas, and we see some in reserves for anything left over at the end of the year. Somebody needed some, for medical bills or clothes for the kids or a light bill or something like that. So we figured out a better way to do it than honor them on Veterans Day and raise money for the local community.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. I appreciate your service and everybody here too, because you said a lot of your staff also veterans too. So it's definitely a veteran-run operation. So it's running pretty clearly.
Yeah, we've got about every branch covered.
Okay. And, what's the one missing? You said about every branch covered.
I don't think we got any Coast Guard. I think every other branch is covered.
Okay, so you have most of them covered.
But we do have some Coast Guard serving us in the my daughter sister-in-law's husband's a Coast Guard, so we got that covered there.
So if all he's got to do is come help for one day, and you could say that it's covered. You could check the box if he just does it for a day.
And we've been very, very fortunate. Every single year it sells out immediately. We have a waiting list, a long waiting list of people to want to get in. And a day like today with the weather, I was surprised that we didn't have a lot of people that canceled. But then again, I said, you know what? People look forward to this every year.
Yeah.
We take very good care of them between the onion sausage, their Saki's Wine and Spirits provides the Bloody Mary bar and Mimosa bar in the mornings for them. So we got the fire pits going. We got live fire pits. We got everything. It's a great day.
I was going to say, on a day where it is a little bit chillier, which, thank you guys for letting us in here, because I know you told me the story about Bill not being in here one time.
Bill would send me that picture every year. He said, now don't make us sit outside again. And it was cold. It was a day just like today, and the doors weren't open on time, and I think he was broadcasting out on the porch for a while.
Oh, man, yeah. Yeah, so definitely glad to be in here. But you guys have the fire pits, and you said Saki Wine and Spirits, hooking you up with a Mimosa and Bloody Mary bar. I mean, honestly, if you're going to get a way to warm up a little bit, to warm your swing up a little bit, I think those two things in conjunction are a good way to do it. But if people are listening right now and they want to get in on this in future years, because you said there's a long waiting list, the best way for them to be able to do that would be?
The best way right now is we always try to do is we go down the list of those we've got people have been doing this for 28 years. So we always take care of them first. Mm-hmm. So if you've been a prior participant, you're always going to get first dibs to get in. And then we'll go down the list of who's, wait list to get in. And if not, they can still donate, whether it be, financially or whether it be, gift certificates or whatever for giveaways to, help raise more money. We keep the cost low. It's probably one of the lowest prices tournaments. We could, we have this discussion every year that we could charge a whole lot more for what we do. Mm-hmm. We could charge double or triple what we charge, but we try to keep it so that in line with that anybody can participate. And so it's not going to financially strap them that they can say, hey, I supported this. I've been playing for this many years and that sort of thing. So, and then at the end, we've got for 27 of the 28 years, Maurice's Piggy Park Barbecue has provided all our meals. So last year they couldn't because their plant burnt down. And so Little Pigs picked up for last year. And Piggy Park is back in this year, so we're glad that they're back on their feet and good, back up and running.
Yeah, welcome back, Piggy Park. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, this is an awesome event for a lot of things that you just mentioned too, especially in terms of like the affordability. Because I mean, that's one of the things people will say about golf is it can be expensive, but on days even not like today when you have an event, what's the best way to be able to get in contact with you guys to set up playing around here, Charwood?
Well, today we just closed. This time of year, with the day short, we just closed the golf course. So the only thing going on the golf course today is this event. Other than that, go to our website. They can book online at charwood.com. They can call 755-2000. Option 1 is an AI bot. I hate to say that, but option 1, because this phone, we have a very, very, very busy facility. So option one will take you through your entire tee time on the phone. It will send you text confirmations. It'll send you everything.
Still efficient. Still efficient.
But
yeah.
if you want to talk to somebody in person, just press 2 and then you can get to the golf shop. But
see, I love having the option.
Yeah.
I like having the option there, right? I don't mind talking to you about, but sometimes I do like having a person-to-person interaction. So that's good stuff right there too. And you mentioned being able to donate, because obviously what today is raising money and being able to put it towards that cause here on Veterans Day. If somebody isn't maybe interested in playing golf, but they just want to donate and they want to get in on this cause right here, what's the best way that they can donate to whatever you
option 2, hit 755-2000 and then hit option 2 and talk to somebody at the golf shop and they'll take care of them. So we got some really good staff that's been with us most of our staff have been with us, 8, 10, 15 years. We've got one gentleman, Phil, that still comes in and makes sandwiches, all our homemade sandwiches and everything. Phil's been with us about 25, 26 years. He's 90 years old, comes in and still shows up 3 times a week.
Oh, I love that.
And so we've got a lot of people to be part of the facility. And the same thing, you talked about the price of golf. We have that internal struggle and battle of we need to be charging a whole lot more than what we charge just because of the cost of, what it takes to provide services and goods and take care of the property. But we also still try to remember, who we are and, where we came from. So we try to keep it as affordable as possible.
Rock, appreciate it as always, man. Good talking to you. You're a winner.
Appreciate it.
The veterans are winners. Shout out, Papaw. Thank you for your service. Go Cox. We're all winners here. Tyler Head and Jack Felcher, they're winners. They're coming up next.